Yep, on ready.
Righto, thank you. Welcome to the extraordinary meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that this meeting is being streamed live to the internet. All those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the September 2025 extraordinary council meeting, the time being 5:32 p.m. First of all, we have the prayer. Does somebody have the prayer? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. O God, grant that by the knowledge of thy will, all we may resolve shall work together for good. We pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. The acknowledgement of country, Councillor Toynton.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land that we meet on this evening. I would like to pay my respect to the elders past and present of the Wiradjuri nation and extend that respect to all persons from all Aboriginal tribes who are present.
Thank you. CCL 25/227, leave of absence. I've received the request for a leave of absence from Councillor Jen Cowley. Can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Wells. I now put that motion. Electronic voting is open. Please cast your votes. Is that working? Has everyone voted?
Yep.
Oh, look at that. Carried unanimously. We've got Councillors Chowdhury and Councillor Butler joining online remotely. CCL 25/228, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? There being none. CCL 25/229, public forum. I'll now run through the rules of public forum. Speakers will have 5 minutes. When you come to speak, please state your name and the item that you are speaking to. When there's 30 seconds remaining, you'll hear a bell rung by myself. At 5 minutes, you'll hear the bell rung multiple times. The microphone will be turned off and you'll conclude speaking. Registered speakers will be asked to speak first, followed by members of the gallery who also wish to speak if time allows. Gallery members should refrain from any disruptive behaviour, including clapping or jeering. I'll now call the following registered speaker, Mr. Roland Samuels, to the microphone, please.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'm here today to put forward a direct appeal to the Council for the third bridge to be named in honour of James Samuels. This correspondence was prepared by Winsome Mumford, and she is a direct descendant of James Samuels. I'm writing to make a direct appeal to you to name the third bridge over the Macquarie River in Dubbo in honour of James Samuels, remembered as the father of Dubbo. A rare individual, his vision, leadership, influence, commitment and service laid the groundwork for the Dubbo community to grow and to thrive. He generously gave his time, his personal funds, his civic initiatives to privilege the future. A deeply invested person, he oversaw development and services in buildings, infrastructure, and harnessing the natural resources to support settlement and agriculture. Winsome is living in the very council area that for more than 70 years James Samuels helped shape with tangible contributions, not symbolic gestures. We had strong community support. The petition submitted by residents, 2,427, that was passed on to the New South Wales Department of Transport, demonstrates consultation, participation, civic engagement and strong community support. It places on public record the shared voice and expectations of locals from all backgrounds. It cannot be dismissed and it cannot be overlooked. A submission by Australian barrister, the Honourable Stephen Lawrence MLC states, Samuel's efforts, both publicly, privately, were foundational to Dubbo's institutions. His long philanthropic life had an enduring influence on the development of the Central West. Mr. Lawrence believes that James Samuel's Bridge will honour his enduring impact, the values he championed, the community he helped to build. The bridge represents connection, progress, and feels a special fitting for this tribute. Why the bridge? The existing LH Ford and the email Sarisia Bridge each honour a civic pioneer who played transformative roles in Dubbo's development. Together, the three bridges would form a civic corridor across time. Sarisia, the visionary who helped establish the village of Dubbo. Samuels, the builder of the municipality and its infrastructure. Ford, the leader who modernised it to the future. A meaningful trilogy, each structure built to serve, built to last, built on the vision of civil leadership, your leadership. The third bridge is nearing completion in 2026, 2027. Just happens to be 100 years since James Samuels died. Public contribution. At the age of 21 in 1856, James Samuels moved from the goldfields in Victoria and he arrived in Dubbo. Dubbo was emerging as a promising settlement with opportunities in land, trade and civic development. Samuels quickly became involved in the public life. His father had already settled in Dubbo with his whole family, suggesting he saw Dubbo as a place where he could make a meaningful impact. The public contributions by James Samuels in the surrounding districts include the following. Aged 22 in 1857, he was a foundational member of the Dubbo Public School Board and he laid the foundation stone for what is the public school on the corner of Darling Street and Wingewarra Street. At age 23, to identify the study for underground aquifers, water aquifers and artesian springs in the Dubbo Basin for water supply. He did a study called The Water Systems of the Interior, which was published in the Empire magazine. His work with the aquifers was the first reticulated water supply in Dubbo. You may have seen it on the corner of Tamworth Street and Brisbane Street. He was a founder for religious at the age of 28. He was a founder of the Holy Trinity Anglican Church. He was the warden, a word I don't know, but he was the manager of the church and trustee for 64 years. For 64 years, that's a lot of religion. At the age of 32, he was a founder of the Dubbo Base Hospital. He donated 3 blocks of his land to the hospital for public use, and he served on that board for 60 years, crikey. He formed the Northwestern Pastoral Agricultural Society. He was the first mayor of Dubbo. He served 3 consecutive terms, and imagine the infrastructure that happened for that. He provided the gas company for Dubbo. He was the chairman for 20 years, and he provided lighting for the city. He was a founder of the Mechanics Institute, which was for the TAFE, and a lot of illiterate people that came to Dubbo, they learnt trades, very similar to he was on the Lands Board for 10 years, and he retired when his son, a solicitor, came along because he didn't want to have a conflict of interest. He was a justice of the peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well said. Got good value for your 5 minutes. Thank you for that contribution. Are there any other members? There's no other registered speakers. Are there any other members of the public gallery that wish to speak? Yes. Same rules apply.
Yeah, g'day.
State your name, topic.
No worries. Jacob Perry. I just wanted to touch base on tonight's very passionate speech. I wasn't going to speak, but yeah, I think when we come to voting in favour of a name for this bridge, I think we should definitely see what is in the community's interest and what name appeals to them. I don't have a made-up mind about that bridge's name, but I trust that it's in good hands with you guys. My only suggestion would be if it was to be an Aboriginal name, it should be probably Wiradjuri Bridge, seeing it decimated Wiradjuri Park. I think that'd be fairly fitting. So on that, I'd like to, throw my support behind whatever the council decides. And probably, I was going to talk about other subjects tonight, but I don't think it's appropriate given tonight's meeting. I just want to also pay my respect to the outgoing CEO and just hope we find good, steady leadership, which we've been offered for the past 5 years, and trust that we can move forward and continue his legacy. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Any further speakers? There being none, that concludes public forum. We now move on to CCL 25/230, recruitment of the General Manager. I'll now move the mayoral minute, recruitment of the General Manager, and speak to the motion. The motion, as printed in the papers, it's going to be slightly different. The second 4A is removed, everything else moves up. The point 7's been added, that the council determine the successful recruitment provider. And then we'll have some other motions afterwards to determine the selection of that recruitment provider and the selection of the recruitment panel. So I've moved that. Everyone should have a copy of that emailed out to them, hopefully. Pretty self-explanatory. We'll just get on with the job and get the general manager recruitment underway. Any further speakers? No speakers. We will now put that to the vote then, councillors, and then have a couple other motions to determine the recruitment panel selection. I'll now open the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now stop the voting. Carried unanimously. Further motions, councillors? Or I'll just move it. Oh, Councillor Dickerson?
I'm happy, Mr. Mayor, to move in terms of the recruitment panel, if you want to start with that one first.
What if we do the provider and then we can do that in confidential?
Okay, so I'm happy to move the provider first, if you want to do that one. So I'm happy to move that we use Local Government Employment Solutions, Local Government New South Wales Employment Solutions as the recruitment agency.
Was that the Local Government Management Solutions or the Services Group? Local Government Services Group.
No, you were moving management. I was moving LGNSW. Yeah.
Righto. Is there a seconder for that? Seconder anywhere?
Just a point of clarity, please, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wright?
We're talking, there's a number in here. There's LG Management Solutions is just the one we're referring to here.
Yeah, that's what Councillor Dixon clarified.
The last one in the table, LG Management Solutions, the one that's owned by Local Government New South Wales, our peak body.
A seconder. Councillor Wells? Right. Now, because we're going to discuss terms and conditions and money and those sort of things here, we will need a motion to move into confidential, where we can discuss this openly as a council. Can someone... Confidential Committee of the Whole. Councillor Richardson has moved that. Councillor Wells seconded. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to that at all?
Not yet, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further debate on going into confidential Committee of the Whole, councillors? There being none, I'll open the voting. It's up there for the electronic voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried 9 votes to 1. Given that we're moving into confidential, could all people in the public gallery please leave so that we're able to have our confidential discussion? Thank you. And stop the web streaming. please take note. Councillors, we now need... We're just getting the gallery back in, so we'll just wait for Mrs. Wade 2 seconds there. Councillor Dickerson is going to move a motion on the voting.
So, Mr Mayor, I move that we determine the 3 councillors via an open voting technique.
A seconder. Councillor Wright. Discussion, Councillor Dickerson.
I think we've got the motion there, Mr Mayor, to say that we need 3 councillors, and I think the fairest and easiest way to do that is for the councillors to do that via an open vote. Nominations will come forward, and then we'll all each go around and nominate those 3. Is anything else I need to add to that?
Thank you. Any other debate or questions, councillors? Is there anyone that doesn't want to be considered for the vote, who doesn't want to be on the selection panel? We've got Councillor Dickerson, Councillor Ryan. Anyone online? The suspense. People online want to be considered for the selection panel. Very good. Okay. So,
Sorry, Mr Mayor, do we know any indication from Councillor Cowley whether she wants to be considered? Are we considering her as part of this process?
when
She made no mention. She asked for a leave of absence, so she acknowledged that she would miss in this council meeting. Yep.
Okay, so we're going to have 8 councillors on the ballot, including the 2 online. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So, okay, those ballots are being prepared, I believe.
Do you want to throw to Jane to explain?
Councillor not Councillor Bassingwaite. Ms. Bassingwaite will explain the voting system.
Mr. Mayor,
Right, Councillor Chowdhury.
sorry, I withdraw my name. Sorry, I didn't.
Oh,
realize.
right. Sorry, Councillor Chowdhury's out as well.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, just on a procedural matter. Sorry, backing Councillor out. We're on a procedural matter there. So I think we should vote on that first and then vote on the resolution before us, which then allows us to have the vote. Because
Right.
at the moment, we don't actually have a resolution in front of us that's confirmed to have a voting method. We're just debating that.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that happens, then we can go through the voting method for the individuals.
Righto.
Yeah.
Do we want an explanation from the director of how the voting's going to work before people vote on it? Let's get that. Ms. Bassingwaite, please.
So now we have the nominees. That currently stands as we're excluding Councillor Cowley. She didn't nominate whether she was or wasn't opposed. So if anyone thought any differently, then please let me know. We have the 7 councillors nominated. We will go around the room. Everyone will declare their 3 votes. We'll record those 3 votes. When we complete, if we have a clear 2 winners, then they'll be considered the nominees. If we have a draw in any shape or form, we will have to go into the names into the bucket and draw out the names. So then it will be just a random selection for the final nominations, 1 or 2, depending on how the numbers fall.
Councillors, that's what we're voting on now. So that's how it will go. We will... Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah. So through you, Mr. Mayor. So because we are not nominating ourselves, so still we can vote.
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank
you must vote. Okay. We're going... Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, for individuals that are wanting to be on the panel, they can vote for themselves.
Yes,
or no?
that's correct. Nearly an expectation. Councillors, so that's what we're going to vote on. Councillor Dickerson, was there anything there you wanted to have a right of reply to?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks. Okay, councillors, we're voting on Councillor Dickerson's motion. I'll announce online, or is it a show of hands, that one?
No, no.
Is that the one?
Go for it.
Yep. It'll be online voting. Please, I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. Councillors, I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we will now go around the room and vote for say which 3 councillors you'd like to be on the selection panel. Even people who aren't nominating to be on the selection panel can vote for someone to be on the selection panel. We've got councillors, the choices are councillors Richardson, Wright, Toynton, Wells, Ivy, and online Butler, Councillor Butler. So we've got 6 there, is it? We've got 6. So you need to pick 3. Just say the names out loud. The governance staff will record the votes and tally them up at the end. We'll start with Councillor Richardson, please.
I
Gotta
will
stand
vote.
up. Stand up and tell us who you're voting for, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will vote for myself, for Councillor Wells, and for Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Councillor Wright next.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I can vote for myself as well. And Councillor Ivy and Councillor Wells, please.
Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll vote for myself, Councillor Richardson, and Councillor Wells.
Thank you. Councillor Wells. Oh, we just... That was Councillor Toynton, Councillor Richardson and Councillor Wells. Yep. Councillor Wells, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll vote for Councillor Richardson, Councillor Wright, and myself.
Thank you. Councillor Ivy.
I'll vote for myself, Councillor Wright and Councillor Wells.
Councillor Dickerson.
Councillor Ivy, Councillor Wright, Councillor Wells.
Councillor Ryan.
Councillor Wells, Councillor Richardson and Councillor Wright.
Thank you. Online, Councillor Butler, please.
Hi, yes, I'll vote for myself, Councillor Richardson and Councillor Toynton.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury.
Mayor, I will vote for Councillor Wells, Councillor Ivy, and Councillor Wells. Wells, Ivy, and Councillor Wright.
Thank you. And I'll vote for Councillor Wells, Councillor Richardson, and, well, it doesn't really matter, Councillor Wright. Thank you. That concludes the voting. We'll just get the final tally. Okay, thank you. The 3 councillors elected are Councillor Wells, Councillor Wright and Councillor Richardson to the selection panel after 4.5 people added up the votes there, and probably some more, I'd say. Right. The next thing we need to do, councillors, is select the independent person.
No, sorry.
Do we have to?
No, that's delegated into your original motion to the selection panel.
To the selection panel.
Yep. So, councillors, just to clarify. Thank you. The original motion in the mayoral minute that the recruitment selection panel composition be the mayor and 3 councillors, and they have to be determined by council, and a suitably qualified person independent of the council determined by the recruitment selection panel. So you've delegated that to that panel there.
Excellent. One less thing to do. The next we have CCL 25/231, report procedural matters, notice of motion of rescission urgency. We've got, the recommendation says that council determine the notice of motion of rescission as received by Councillor Butler on the 2nd of September 2025.
Mr Mayor, I've got a point of order before you ask for a mover, if that's
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So I want to just briefly outline that back on the 26th of August, under section 17.4, no rescission motion was lodged at that particular meeting. So there was a motion in relation to this item and no rescission motion was lodged. Therefore, it's the lawful duty of the officers of council to proceed without delay to enact that particular resolution of council. Our staff have done that. They've gone and issued a purchase order. They've progressed that process. If you were then to accept this particular resolution, I believe that would be a breach of contract. Therefore, that would be unlawful. Now, you can get out of a contract. You can get out of a contract by paying damages. Why are you paying damages? Because you've breached that actual contract. So I believe that this would be an unlawful resolution if you accepted that, and therefore that would be in breach of our code of meeting practice. So I would put to you that this is unlawful and we shouldn't proceed with this, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. We'll throw to the CEO for comments on further advice on that.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So indeed, under the Local Government Act and the Code of Meeting Practice, staff are required to keep carrying on delivering a lawful resolution of council without undue delay. So staff have been progressing even subsequently to receiving the notice of rescission motion. So subsequently, Ms Rouse, Manager of Governance, has sought legal advice on the latest point we're up to now. And the legal advice is that this has gone beyond recall. That's supported by case law as well. So the rescission motion is not possible as the resolution has been fulfilled to a significant degree. So that would support the point of order that Councillor Dickers has brought forward.
Righto. So given that and the CEO's comments and the legal advice, I will rule on that point of order and uphold it, which means that we cannot go forward with that bringing of the rescission motion as a matter of urgency for the reasons that we were just given, plus the email that councillors received at 6:16 with that legal advice. Now, that determines that. Given that, and that being the advice, we then cannot have the next motion, which is CCL 25/232.
That's correct.
Just finding out what our next step is with the next motion on the solar car park.
Yeah, so that you can't rescind that, so that cannot be considered at council. There's already been a lawful decision of council and has progressed to that point where the resolution has been fulfilled to a significant degree. So that has to be in abeyance now, Mr Mayor.
So we cannot bring that rescission motion based on the previous legal advice.
Correct.
Next, we move on to CCL 25/233, recruitment of the Chief Executive Officer CEO. Councillor Dickerson, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll formally withdraw that particular notice of motion, Mr Mayor. Your mayoral minute covers the items in that particular notice of motion, so that means that we don't need to consider that again, so I'll formally withdraw that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, there are no further items for consideration of the extraordinary council meeting, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 6:28. Thank you for your attendance and participation. The 2025 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming the standing committees and council meetings live to the internet, and as such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the September 2025 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting, the time being 6:29 p.m. We've already done the welcome to country earlier. The first item is IPC 25/59, leave of absence. I have a request for leave of absence from Councillor Cowley. Can I have moved by Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Wright? I now put that to the electronic voting. I think it's coming through the system. And while we're waiting for that, I'll note that we've got two councillors joining online, Councillor Chowdhury and Councillor Butler. Right, we now have the vote on the leave of absence. Councillors, I have opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. IPC 25/60, conflicts of interest. Do any councillors have any conflicts to declare? There being none, we move on to IPC 25/61, development activity summary. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
Any other debate or questions, comments, councillors? Go on. No, you don't have to. It's all right. Councillors, there being no further debate, I will now, in a second, open the voting on the development activity summary. Here we go. Voting is now open. Please cast your votes. Councillors, I will now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Item IPC 25/62, planning proposal R25-001, Ironbark Estate. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Wright, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Toynton, thank you. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that motion?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. It was just a question regarding the acoustic assessment, actually. I noted in there that the council was suggesting that that acoustic assessment be dealt with prior to this being adopted, whereas the proponent suggesting that it could have been dealt with at a later stage. Is this going to hold up the development further? Is that something that could have been negotiated and dealt with at a later stage?
The CEO.
Mr. Hallett.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the intent of updating the acoustic assessment is to look at what can be done through the rezoning of the land for acoustic impacts being addressed, rather than them being deferred to the development application stage. So the intent of this requirement is subject to council resolution to allow the planning proposal to proceed, and prior to it progressing a bit further, we understand the acoustic matters a bit further. So we don't want to hold it up too much. We don't want to ask for too many onerous details at the first stage, because doing all that doing all those heavily detailed investigations, and then if it doesn't get through council resolution, it's essentially a lot of time and effort wasted when it could be deferred and dealt with after and during the gateway determination implementation.
Further questions or
No,
comments,
thanks,
debate?
Mr. Chair. And that was probably my main concern about time to market on any of these types of planning decisions, to just to ensure that wheels keep turning on those types of things.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we will put that motion. I've opened the electronic voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. IPC 25/63, results of public exhibition Forest Glen Solar Farm Community Housing Fund Guidelines. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Ivey. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Probably just a question. If this recommendation or this motion is successful tonight, what are the steps from council's perspective to I suppose, promote this as something that's available, and how do we get, our community housing providers to be engaged with this process so they can take advantage of it?
To the CEO.
Mr. Hallett.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as part of the public exhibition period, we sent emails to community housing providers in the Dubbo Regional Local Government area. We also sent it to our development stakeholder bodies that may have an interest as well. So depending on the outcome of tonight's meeting and subject to the resolution at the ordinary council meeting, we'll start getting things in motion around setting up the back end of the grant system through Smarty Grants, so that depending on the ordinary council resolution, we'd then be able to start calling for applications and promoting it to entities who could apply for this and would have an interest in it as well.
Thank you. Further questions and debate? Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question with relation to page 122, where it says that council will receive $200,000 per year for a 5-year period. I was of the belief that these planning agreements were for the life of the project. Is there any reason why it cuts out after 5 years, where we only receive a total of $1 million from this company?
The CEO.
So this VPA was a reverse engineered one. So it was an older approval. So after council adopt their policy, went back to the proponent, and where there was no VPA, and certainly solar historically it did not enter VPAs, and I'll use Suntop and the Wellington North ones where there was none, and there certainly was any sense of obligation to do so. So in that shift, in that transition to our new policy setting, that's where the team have worked hard to reverse engineer a new VPA. That's Mr. Hallett, anything further to add? No, comfortable? That's the main reason.
Councillor Toynton.
So just to follow up with that, has construction of this project actually started out there yet, or no?
The CEO.
Elements have. I certainly know the transmission has been started work. I'm not sure about, they've started road works as well, that they had to upgrade certain parts of the road intersection treatment to get it up to a standard to take trucks and vehicles. So it has started, yes.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none. Councillor Wright, any right or reply there?
Oh, no, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Councillors, I will now put that motion. I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried 9 votes to 1. Item IPC 25/64, naming of the new Dubbo Bridge. We need a motion to defer. Councillor Wells. Motion to defer to the council meeting. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wright. It was the look up. Councillor Wells, speak to that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just happy for us to get cracking with this. It's been some time. Be really good to have it sorted at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I was actually just going to call out for community, actually, to use that in the next 2 weeks to reach out to the councillors. Obviously, there's a lot of information in that report, and a number of Indigenous names and some non-Indigenous suggestions as well. But I guess, and there's been a lot of community input on it, but I think over the next 2 weeks is a really important time for people, if they do want to have one final say, certainly reach out to your councillors and make your thoughts be known.
Councillor Ivey, did you flinch?
Only just really along the same lines as Councillor Wright. I'm actually surprised that there hasn't been more community contact. I've been contacted by 2 parties. That's all. I would have thought, again, it's very important. It's a very significant issue. It's I'm not quite sure how much final say this council is going to have in the name, but we should still pursue it very actively and make sure that at the council meeting in a fortnight's time we do pass on and act upon the feedback that we get from the community. So yeah, I'd reinforce Councillor Wright's comments. Please make contact.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Right of reply, anything there, Councillor Wells?
Only that thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I just agree with the 2 comments, and thank you, that's all.
Thank you. The motion to defer until the next council meeting in a fortnight, councillors. Voting is open. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. The next item is IPEC 25/65 Pedestrian Access and Mobility Plan, PAMP, Public Exhibition. Do I have someone to move that, please? Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to anything in that?
Only to say that it's a really comprehensive report and it's much needed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we will put that motion. Voting is open. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. As there are no further items, I declare the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee closed, the time being 6:40 p.m. Oh, yeah, good on you. I would have.
I now open the September 2025 Culture and Community Committee meeting, the time being 6:42 p.m. I have a request for, we'll move to CCC 25/42. I have a request for leave of absence from Councillor Cowley. And do I have a mover? Yep. Councillor, yep, Ryan. And a seconder, Councillor Richardson. And I'll put that motion to electronic voting.
Yep, enter the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Start voting. Oh, right. I'll now stop the voting. Is it that one again?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Stop it.
Motion carried unanimously. Oh, gosh. We'll move on to CCC 25/43, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest? Okay. With none, I'll move on. I can move on.
Yep.
All good. Cool. To CCC 25/44, the report of the Multicultural Advisory Committee for a meeting the 4th of August 2025. Could I have somebody move a motion? Councillor Wright, and a seconder, please. Councillor Toynton. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, I wasn't present at that meeting. That one was chaired by Councillor Chowdhury on my behalf that night. But look, there was a number of items, a bit of a broad number of items discussed that night. But one that the group didn't get to, which is going to be a really important one coming up at the next meeting, is the development of a multicultural strategy. We'll be relying pretty heavily, or looking to the Multicultural Committee, relying on them pretty heavily to come up with some of the basis of some ideas that we can formulate that sort of strategy. So that'll come before council. It could even be sometime early to mid next year, but certainly to commence that discussion within that Multicultural Committee is a great place to start.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Are there any further comments or debate? There being none, I will start the voting. Oh, sorry. Well, there's no right to reply because you're the only one. Okay, sorry. Okay. I'll stop the voting and declare that unanimous. We'll move on to CCC 25/45, the report of the Youth Council meeting, 7th of August. Do I have a mover of the motion? Councillor Black, do I have a seconder? Councillor Richardson. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion?
Oh, thank you. Great bunch of young people doing really good things at the Youth Council, and they're a credit to themselves and their families and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Is there any further comments or debate? With none, I'll add just a small comment as well. I concur with Councillor Black's comments around an eager bunch of young people, I should say, not children. It's really impressive to see these young people wanting to step up and being a part of their community and engage the community voice for their levels, and they're quite vocal, so super impressed with them. With that, I will start the voting. Oh, I don't do a rate. Sorry. Okay, I'll stop the voting. And declare that unanimous. Move on to CCC 25/46, which is the Macquarie Regional Library Operational Report, January 2025 to June 2025. Do I have a person to move? Councillor Ivey, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Taunton. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your...
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, I know we've said it before, but what a gem the Macquarie Library is. It's a fantastic facility and a fantastic resource, and I think the operational model where we do combine with other LGAs is obviously a very good one, because just looking at the financial summary, to basically hold income, perhaps increase it slightly, and then come in under budget on expenses of about $600,000. Maybe can we get the management of the Macquarie Library to come and do some consulting work on other sections of council? No, it's a great result, and just again with my limited exposure through the Wellington Library, it's been a fantastic result with really good continuation of service, which is a great combination. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Are there any further comments or... Yeah, Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, my comment was just going to be more with regards to the 355 respondents to the community survey, and in three of those categories scoring well above 90% for their MRL overall, the library staff and the library locations. So again, just user feedback indicating that it's also very, very well received by community as well.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury online had your hand up.
Chair, I'll echo with the councillor Wright. I would like to congratulate all the staff. They done a fantastic job. It reflecting on the survey result. So I would like to congratulate all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. I'll also add a comment that, sorry, before I add a comment, was there any further comments here? Councillor Black.
Thank you. Having been down the Dubbo branch of the Macquarie Regional Library a couple of times recently, it's fantastic to see the study hub that's been built down there and all the resources that are available to the youth of the region that they can go there, and it was a really good opportunity for students to go and study for their trial HSCs and get free internet and a whole stack of resources there that are available to kids in Dubbo and Wellington, and the foreign language books through the State Library of New South Wales. There's a heap of resources and books that people can borrow in their own native language, or if you want to learn a second language. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. And are there any further comments or suggestions or debate? So before I go back to the mover, I just wanted to concur with everybody around the comments around the Macquarie Regional Library and the report. It's good to hear that there's so much positive feedback. I too would say that I have quite frequent use of the library for other meetings, and it's always a great service with really good people. So I'm not surprised that it's operating so well. Councillor Ivey, do you have a right of reply?
Could I just use the opportunity to add something that the others have said about the community appreciation of the library? One of the good things about it is it really is across the whole spectrum of the community. As Councillor Black said, as the Mayor said, you've got children there with the kids and but students at the HSC, and I was approached by the voluntary driver of the bus that takes the aged people from Maranatha, the aged persons accommodation in Wellington. He drives them, the residents, down to the library, I think once a week, or if not once a week. And he said, look, it is absolutely a fantastic service. He really appreciates the compassion and the interest and the service provided by the staff. So, we all as councillors get lots of criticisms of the services that council provide, but certainly in this case, all we get is compliments. So it's great.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. I will put that to the vote. It actually was within right of reply, so happy to let that go. So I'll start the voting. Councillor Black? I'll stop the voting and declare that unanimous. Thank you. The next item for consideration in the Cultural and Community Committee is deemed by the Chief Executive Officer to be confidential. Can I now have someone to move to defer item CCC 25/47 presentation update on the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre to be dealt with at the end of the Corporate Services Committee in the confidential session? Moved by Councillor Richardson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Toynton. Great. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, not at the moment.
Do I still ask for? Okay. Any comments or debates? Probably. There being none, I will start the voting. Okay, right. Okay, I'll stop the voting and declare that unanimous. As there are no further items, I declare the Cultural and Community Committee closed, the time being 6:53 p.m. I now open the August 2025 Corporate Services Committee meeting, the time being 6:53 p.m. Item CSC 25/55, leave of absence. I have requests for leave of absence from Councillor Cowley, moved by Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Wright. I now put the motion to the electronic voting. That it? Yeah.
Hasn't registered your vote, Councillor Ryan. Thank you. No pressure. I'll now close the voting and that motion's carried unanimously. Go do that? That? Yep. Awesome. Okay. Item CSC 25/56, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? No. Moving on, item CSC 25/57, monthly reporting snapshot for councillors. Do I have a mover for the motion? And thank you, Councillor Black, and seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair, I have a question to the staff. On page 9, there was like around 90 days plus, there was a quite a big death. Is there any way you can get the how much actual figure amount is 90 plus days, and what council is trying to getting this money back? Thank you.
Through the CEO.
Certainly, councillors, we can take that on notice. We don't have that at our fingertips there. I think it's worth calling out that this current financial year is a much better performance than the previous financial year. So there's strength in terms of the data we're putting in front of you, but we'll take that on notice, and Ms. Bappingthwaite will get to back to councillors.
Any further debate? Oh, now, it's weird. What's it doing? Stop voting? What's it doing? I'll now put the motion to the vote. I'll stop the voting.
And the green one.
Motion's carried unanimously. Item CSC 25/58, 24/25 delivery program and operational plan, final progress report. Do I have a mover for the motion? Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Black. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. And I'll now close the voting. And the motion's passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/59, republication of the Toward 2040 Community Strategic Plan. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wright, and a seconder, Councillor Toynton. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to the motion?
Not for this one, thanks, Madam Chair.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. I'll now stop the voting. And the motion's passed unanimously. Item CSC 25/50, draft council policy technology provisions for councillors.
Madam Chair,
Councillor Dickerson.
I'd like to move option 1, the first option 1, the first of the 3 option 1s, option 1 and then option 2 and option 3 as per the business papers, please.
Okay, so do I put him down as moving that one? Yep. And I need a seconder for that. I need a seconder for that motion, please, Councillor Wells. Thank you. Councillor Dickerson, would you like to speak to that motion?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. There's a fair bit in this, and I understand exactly where the IT department's coming from in terms of some of the developments in cybersecurity and some of the recommendations from the government. But we've also got to marry that up and balance that with the needs of councillors. And one of the things that I'm not sure that we've actually even thought about or really delved into the full implications of option 2, for example. As I read the wording there, that would mean that use of personal devices for council-related activities is not permitted. Now, that's got far-reaching implications. That means that whatever your council business was, a phone call, an email, a text message, posting a comment on a social media site, looking up information, anything related at all to council business could not be done on your own personal device. That would mean someone rang you and you would say, sorry, I'm on my personal phone. I can't talk to you on this phone because we've adopted option 2, which is personal devices not permitted. So could you please ring me back on the other phone, which is the council phone? So you'd be carrying 2 phones with you, the same with any other technology you use, whether it be an iPad or a PC. Then again, you'd have one that was dedicated just for that use. So you wanted to post something on social media and you only had your own phone with you. Oh, I can't do that now. I can't comment on that social media site because I haven't got the council-owned device with me. So we're always encouraging more people to stand for council. We want it to be as accessible as possible to be a councillor. And I think by going with option 2 or option 3, I'll talk about in a moment, it would limit dramatically the ability for people to be effective councillors. Our residents out there don't think about the silos of personal and council. They don't say, I'll ring that particular council on this number because that's their council issued number. I'll ring them on this number over here. It would be confusing. And I think we'd seem quite rude if we said, I can't answer you on this text, or I can't answer your phone call, or I can't answer on this particular social media site because I'm not on the council-owned equipment. So the flexibility offered by option 1, which is what we do now, makes it much more sense. We also have to remember that councillors aren't full-time employees. We're part-time and we're trying to balance parenthood, we're trying to balance work, we're trying to balance being a part of the community, sporting, a whole range of things. Carrying multiple devices around with us just doesn't seem practical. And I think the emphasis here is on putting, I suppose, more emphasis, and I apologise to the IT department for this, more emphasis on making sure that the controls are right at the back end. In other words, making sure we've got the ability to manage the risk, the minimal risk at account level, because none of us sitting around the table here, apart from the mayor, can access any internal resources of council. Using our devices, we can't access internal files or documents. We can access email and we can access the information on the hub. But the risk would be the same. If I was sitting here, this is my own personal iPad, I'm accessing the hub on it. But if I was using this as a council-owned device, I could just as easily leave that unlocked somewhere and walk away and someone could access that information. What would be the result either way? I'd ring council staff quickly and say, oh my gosh, I've lost my iPad. Can you lock it down at your end? That would be the same outcome, whether it was owned by me or owned by council. The same outcome would occur in that locking it down at the account level is where I think the more effective process can be. And our staff do a good job with that, and I understand where they're coming from with this. But ultimately, that's where I think the flexibility needs to be. It also minimises the cost. If we go ahead with option 2 or potentially option 3, option 2 at a minimum would mean we'd have to issue a mobile phone to every councillor sitting around here. We'd have to issue an iPad. Now, most councillors use an iPad. Some councillors don't use a council-issued iPad. So there'd be additional cost. We'd have to have additional phone numbers for all the councillors sitting around the table. So for all of these reasons, and I do apologise to the IT department, I understand they're coming from a cybersecurity risk perspective, but the risk for staff, that we pose to staff is minimal because of the low access we've got to internal resources. It's really email and the hub. And I know there's some talk about some of the New South Wales cybersecurity policies and Essential 8, but essentially those are focused on internal resources, internal staff with those resources, not on external. I mean, I'm working here, I'm not even using our internal Wi-Fi, I'm using the guest Wi-Fi. So the access that I've got to any of our internal resources is minimal. Option 3, I think, is very intrusive, saying to the IT staff, here's my device, but you've got control over this now. That would be, I think, quite intrusive for people. So for flexibility, for us to be able to deliver effective service to the residents of Dubbo, I think we've got to remain with option 1 and allow that flexibility for us to have our own devices that we use and have a combination of the council device or council information on there as well as our own information on there, and allow that flexibility and put the pressure, I apologise again, on the IT staff to make sure the account level risk is managed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further debate? Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm just looking here. We've got option 1, and then we've got option 1 part 2, where it's council endorse option 2, that personal devices not permitted of the technology provisions, and update the policy wording accordingly. Is there some way where we could obviously adopt, like change the wording to say, okay, we can make calls, we can use our social media, but with the more sensitive stuff like the council issued iPad has access to the hub that gives us access to confidential business papers that aren't in the public domain. Could we pursue that it's not outright banned, but there are restrictions as to what we can and can't do, like phone calls, you can do that on your own device. Social media, you can do that on your own device. Council emails, use it on the council issued device to maintain that level of security.
Through the CEO.
I'll throw to Mr. Green, the relevant manager.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Chair. I think the intent of the cybersecurity frameworks is around the storage of council information. So in the phone call example, because the phone call is not stored on the device, it doesn't necessarily fall under the provisions of those security frameworks. I suppose one of the other challenges that we've got is a text message, an email is also a record of council, so we're legally required to keep it under the State Records Act, and doing that on personal devices is also challenging. So yes, we could change the wording of the policy to allow phone calls, but there is certain communications that would be difficult to do.
Further debate, Councillor Toynton?
Yes, so just following up on that, if we were to adopt option 1, personal devices permitted of the technology provisions for council, and update the policy wording accordingly, do we still fulfil our legislative requirement of record keeping, as was just discussed?
Yep, through you.
Thanks for the question. Through you, Madam Chair. You could, to meet that obligation, forward any official council communication to an administrative team member of council and have them record it in the record keeping system to meet that obligation.
Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
I'm just following up on Councillor Toynton's question. I'm not sure that that's the answer was what you intended, was it? I think we're saying that if we do adopt option 1, are we in contravention of any local government legislation? I mean, can we do it and still be compliant? Is that what you meant?
Yep, through the CEO.
Yeah, just firstly, what Mr. Green was saying was there'd be a practice you would have to make sure we are compliant. So that is but one part of it. You can use it, but for things that need to be kept in official record, there'd be a means by which we would have to gather that. So I'll use an example where a council might text me to say they're requesting a leave of absence. I actually screenshot that, send that through as an email, so I've got a written record of that. I regard texts as written, but I want to capture that more officially. So that's what I do there to capture that official record. I believe that's what Mr. Green was. You'd need a practice to ensure that we met our obligations, not just the rule. Mr. Green, are you comfortable with me verbaling you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Black?
Thank you. Look, I'm probably inclined to support option 1, but I think in the fortnight until the next meeting, there might be some other things that we could do, like it's very inconvenient having 2 phones. Trust me on that one. But like maybe the council antivirus could be used on a personal phone and the laptop, say, or if you're going to use your own laptop for things. I never used the laptop for, like my own personal laptop and phone previously, for accessing the emails. I prefer to, other than the confidential papers that I read on the hub through the council issued device, I find it easier to scroll through on the Google Chrome browser than through the actual hub papers for most of the everything except confidential. So there might be something we could do there with putting antivirus, council supplied antivirus, on a phone and a laptop of councillors that they might use for council related business to stop people hacking in, if that's one of the major concerns. But look, we haven't had any problems so far. I don't know about this accessing internal resources. I'll have to talk to the CEO about that later. that Councillor Dickinson mentioned, because I only thought I could get on the hub and the email, but apparently not. So I'll be wanting to know what's been going on for the last 11 months there. But I'll probably support option 1, I think, because I think with a bit more tech support around the antivirus, I think we could probably clear that up a bit. Any emails that we send obviously captured through whether you send it on the council issued device or your phone or your own laptop, that's obviously captured through the records keeping and text messages. Look, same thing there. Anything that's skippered, they can easily get everything back from that, unless you're using Signal with disappearing messages, which everyone should be using. Thanks.
Any further debate? Councillor Wells?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to support the motion of option 1, but also thinking about some of the things that Councillor Black spoke about in terms of the antivirus. Other options, if council had the appetite, is that you can provide dual SIM for one card, and that way you're taking a phone call for council purposes under that SIM. I'm not in favour of carrying 2 phones anymore. I've done it for the last 30 odd years. Just got rid of that one, so I'd rather stick with one phone. Thank you.
Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, just is there an option? So I know with myself personally working for correctives, on my personal device, I have my emails on there and whatnot. If I go into my corrective services email, I'm restricted. I can't forward any emails on. I can't screenshot. A little message pops up that says your organisation has restricted this. You know, unless we're on our council email, of course. Is there something like that council have or could put in place for security measures?
Yep, through you. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. That would be an information classification framework. We don't have one as council. Is it possible? Yes. You'll see it from most state government departments. If you receive an email, it'll have a little tag in it that says official or something along those lines. If we had an information classification policy, we could then put technical controls in that would control the distribution of that content.
Any further debate, councillors? Being none, I'll start the voting.
I don't write a reply to
Oh, sorry, Councillor Dickinson, right of reply.
Thank you. I'll just use my right of reply to reply to things that were mentioned in the debate. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items there. I think Councillor Black has come up with a good idea there, which might be, rather than using council versions of antivirus, for example, it might be something where councillors would, to be able to use their own personal devices, might have to sign something to say, yes, I've got an antivirus program. Yes, I do patching of my software, my operating system. Yes, I have my screen locking after a certain amount of time. Just a few of the basic security protocols, which I think all councils would have on their personal devices. So I'm not sure if Mr. Green will be happy with the licensing process with providing antivirus, for example, to councils, but that might be a way to allow at least some of those security protocols, some of those Essential 8 security protocols to be implemented. The other one I want to mention, so Councillor Toynton was quite sensible in saying maybe we could do some parts, but other parts no. And I suppose part of the problem there is just where do you draw the line? Like you might say phone calls are okay and social media is okay, but social media might be a record, so we should have that on your council device. So we will debate it for a long time about where we would actually draw the line. I think the point that Councillor Wells made about dual SIM would be the absolute opposite of what the option 2 would be, because you wouldn't be allowed to have dual SIM because your council issued device, if it was a council issued phone, would not be allowed to have your second SIM. So it'll be back to, as Councillor Black said, you'd be carrying your personal phone, which you couldn't have your council SIM in, and it'd be your council phone, which you couldn't have your personal SIM in. So those two could never meet. So you'd be back to carrying 2 phones. Or for some, they might have a work phone and a personal phone. They might be carrying 3 phones around. So I think they're the main points that were brought up there. And I suppose, Councillor Ryan, the option there would be, if we went that way, it would definitely be option 2. And then, as Mr. Green said, implementing a framework that would basically lock that phone down. But that would definitely be an option 2, not an option 1. That's all there, and I won't add to any of the information that was debated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further debate? That's it.
Go to the vote now.
Right, I'll now put it to the vote. I'll now close the voting. And motion's passed unanimously with a few hiccups. Item CSC 25/61, outcome of public exhibition of asset management policy. Do I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Black. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further debate? I'll now put the motion to the vote. I'll now stop the voting. And the motion's passed unanimously. The next items for consideration are deemed to be confidential. Under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next items being CSC 25/62 and CCC 25/47 have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of Council. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential item? Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Wright. We've had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Okay. Okay. I will now open the electronic voting. I'll now close the voting. I declare the motion carried unanimously and we'll move into closed session, the time being 7:17 p.m. The streaming will now be turned off and any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on these matters with the resolutions to be made public. Can we please stop the web streaming? Committees return to open session at 7:59 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Governance Officer to play the resolutions from the confidential session. There are no further items for consideration of the Corporate Services Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 8 p.m. Web streaming is now being completed. Thank you for your attendance. Please stop the web streaming.